I'm an introvert too. So for people that think that speaking on podcasts, whether you have your own or you guest, is not for introverts, 100% it is. I think it's like the hidden gem for introverts because it's so one-on-one. We deep dive into conversations. We just don't like the small chit chat, and you don't do that when you interview someone on a podcast.
I'm Tiffany Gilliland, your host of the Business Bravery podcast. I'm an Australian business and mindset coach and marketing service provider with 13 years of experience in online marketing. I help coaches sign clients and grow their business with more confidence and less stress using my Business Bravery framework. It's all about simple steps that actually work so you can build a profitable business that lights you up and feels sustainable. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to join me for Brave Coffee Connections, my free monthly Zoom gathering for coaches and service-based business owners. It's not another networking pitch fest. Instead, you'll connect through powerful questions, small group conversations, and a short visualization to set you up for the month ahead. These deeper connections often lead to collaborations, referrals, and even new clients. Find out more about this free monthly Zoom gathering at tiffanygstudios.com/connections. That's tiffanygstudios.com/connections. I'd love to see you there. Today, I'm joined by Candace Dudley, a podcast guesting coach and host of the Podcasting Mentor Better Brave podcast. Candace has produced over 200 episodes and guest starred on more than 50 podcasts, and that's just in 2025. She helps coaches and solopreneurs grow their visibility by landing aligned podcast stages and becoming known as the go-to in their niche. Candace is all about using your voice and your story to build real connection. Her approach to guesting is simple, human, and focused on clarity, not complicated pitching or doing more than you need to. Today, she's sharing the lessons she's learned from hosting her own show, coaching others through their first guest appearances, and navigating the personal growth that comes with podcasting and speaking publicly. If you want to share your story more confidently, grow your coaching business, and step into more visible leadership without relying on the algorithm, you're going to love this conversation. With that said, this is an amazing episode, and I can't wait to share with you Candace's stories of business bravery, past, present, and future. Now, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Super excited to be here with my amazing guest this week. I have so many awesome questions to ask her. Candace Dudley, podcast manager, and who also helps people with podcast guesting and all of that goodness. Sorry, I know that's not your official title. People will have heard. Candace, thank you so much for joining us today. Please, in your own words, not my mangled ones, tell us more about yourself and who you help and all of that goodness.
Sure, sure. Thanks for having me. No, you did great.
Yes.
Currently, I have been hosting my own podcast for over 4 years now. So I've produced all of those episodes. We're upwards of 200 and more. And then I also, like you said, my kind of specialty that I've really honed in on in the last year is helping female entrepreneurs, coaches, service providers use podcast guesting as a way to grow their business, network, visibility through that, using their own voice and sharing their own story and really positioning themselves as the thought leader, the expert, the authority in their niche. And that's been really fun to kind of find my way to. It happened sort of organically where I started getting podcast questions, but then specifically about guesting or how to find a show or just stuff like that. And being that I had hosted my own show, and as I'm sure you know, we get a lot of bad pitches from, emails and things like that. And they're very kind of yuck feeling about them. So with that sort of knowledge and being asked questions, I thought there's a spot here that is very underutilized. People aren't necessarily thinking about using this, but podcasting is so great because it lasts so long and can work for you in the background. It's searchable, evergreen content that's much different than a post on social media or something like that. So I love podcasting, and I'm sure we're going to get into this and with our brave stories and such, but that's the thing for me through all of my pivots in the last 4 years. It was sort of a light bulb moment that's what never went away. And that's where my heart lies and my values line up, just giving people a voice that don't necessarily always have one, because it results in somebody else listening to it, feeling seen, feeling heard, and that can really create a pretty awesome ripple effect in someone's life.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. I know from my perspective, I started this podcast about 2 years ago, and it changed everything for me, like not just in a business sense of, oh, more people to network and things, but also me personally as I like gained confidence and with the thing around bravery, it's like, oh, I can't just talk about it. I have to be more brave. And it just helped me with anxiety and all of that, like professionally and personally. Yeah, like now I'm looking at wanting to do more guesting myself and getting on
Mhm.
stages and things. And that wouldn't have happened without having this podcast first. Like I had no idea what I was in for.
That's a ripple effect that I didn't really foresee either. I just followed the nudge, I call it, or the gut instinct that I was just being pulled toward podcasting, but I really thought I was very boring. I was a mom of three babies, three and under, and I just thought, "Oh, I just have such a boring life. I'll run out of things to say. Who will want to listen? Those types of things." But it didn't go away for at least a year of just thinking, I should start a podcast. I want to start a podcast. I had been listening to them kind of feeling seen, feeling validated, and bringing myself out of this postpartum kind of slumpy yuck feeling that a lot of moms can relate to. And so, yeah, it was just doing the brave next thing, taking the next step, not really knowing why, and just trusting that I wouldn't run out of things to say. And here I am 4 years later. I can tell you I didn't run out of things to say. There's always something new happening or a different take you have or a new guest you can bring on. But you really start to step into that identity. For me, I was a teacher before this. So it was really stepping into and being forced to talk about. And it's like putting in all that repetition really starts to change you. You become this new version of yourself. And what was scary before is no longer scary because now you've done it 50 times, 100 times. And so your comfort zone really changes over time when you do that next brave thing.
Mm. Oh my gosh, that's definitely so true. And I just want to say on that whole, nobody will listen, I'll run out of things to say or something like that. I had similar things. I was someone who was just really shy and was
Hmm.
happy to not be seen. Like I was just happy to be in my own world and that kind of thing. And then, yeah, I felt that calling for like 3 years before it was finally
Mm.
like, okay, I have to do it. Like I was just miserable not doing it. And all of the reasons of like, oh, I should have more money in the bank and all that. It was just, yeah. So, and like you, I haven't run out of things to say, and I've kind of
Right.
become more of an extroverted person. And now it's like, oh, just shut me up, will you? You
Yes,
know?
I'm an introvert too. So for people that think this speaking on podcasts, whether you have your own or you guest, is not for introverts, 100% it is. I think it's like the hidden gem for introverts because it's so one-on-one. We deep dive into conversations. Like we just don't like the small chit chat, and you don't do that when you interview someone on a podcast. We're gonna, I'm sure, get in even deeper, but this would never happen if we bumped into each other at the coffee shop or something like that. And so that's another thing I love about podcasting.
Yes, true. Me walking up to strangers on the street. So tell me what brave things are you doing? And people are like, what?
Yep, not happening. I have to
Yeah.
like practice my coffee order in my head as I'm going to the coffee place, even though I get the same thing every time because that's what my introvert anxious brain is like, you're gonna mess it up or they're gonna say, "How are you?" and it's gonna throw you off. So that's me driving to the coffee shop. My brain is practicing my order. So no, that is definitely not happening.
God, that's amazing. Okay, sorry. Let's shift into the bravery, but just know you're not alone. I've definitely done that in the past of like that and the when you're in a group and you have to introduce yourself and it's like I know
Oh,
my name, I know what I do, but I'm just suddenly scared I'm going to go blank. Like
uh-huh,
yeah.
definitely. I feel you.
Okay. So talking about bravery, then, what brave things are you working on in your business to kind of stretch out of your comfort zone or those kinds of things at the moment?
Such a good question. I have been doing a lot of speaking on virtual summits, and a lot of them have been where I get to pre-record it, which again, comfort zone, that feels fantastic. I can edit it, I can start over. But I had one recently and some more coming up that were live. So the live speaking, even though I still am on a computer on Zoom or whatnot, that has really I've noticed been pushing my comfort zone because it's a live group of people sitting there waiting for you. You can't edit, you can't fix anything or start over, and you just have to go. And it's gone better than I thought it would go, but it's just your brain keeping you small and not liking the change and wanting control. And so that was something new that happened
Mm.
recently. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just want to say you're not alone in that. Actually, I was talking to someone in our like I run Brave Coffee Connections every month, and it's this kind of thing where we connect and talk about brave things and do deeper conversations. And somebody was talking about how she wanted to do the teaching masterclass thing, and it was that same thing about being live. Like she has no problem with the pre-recorded, but the being live thing. And yeah, it's just. It is a different thing. It's sort of
It is.
yeah.
Yeah. But the fun thing about the live is you actually have humans that when you pause or you get to the end,
Yeah.
they can ask you questions. And you never get that when, you do it recorded. And so that piece too is invaluable because then you know what parts maybe are missing or what parts people are most curious about. So there's a lot of value in that. And I think the more chances that someone can see us, I'm kind of air quotes, like, we're virtual, but the more time someone can see us on video, hear our voice, I think people are craving that right now because there's so much AI. There's so much things that written that we're like, did they write that? Or did AI write that? It's hard to tell. You cannot fake it on a podcast when you're recording for over a half an hour to an hour or on a live summit or on video like that. You can't fake that and you can't be so scripted. And if you are and you're reading something, people can
Yeah.
easily spot that. And so I think people are craving that. And so it's a good place for anyone to really push that comfort zone if that's something that they haven't stepped into because I do think that that allows people, potential clients, potential customers to really speed up the getting to know you process.
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that drew me onto video and then doing podcasts and things too, is especially for high level, high ticket coaching or, even as a service provider, people won't spend thousands of dollars with you if they don't know you or have a sense of knowing you. And the
Right.
fastest way to do that is with that being on video or audio if when you can't do it in person, of course. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and those it's funny because I think the imperfections that we all fear people are going to see, those are the things that actually can draw people to us. And as you were talking about, like, with AI and everything, I've been doing this podcast for 2 years. I have these verbal tics and things that I do that I'm trying to train myself out of. There's no AI in the world that would put those in. So at least people know. Do you know what I mean?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just a great way to build those relationships and that kind of thing. And I know from years of listening to podcasts, like I've spent thousands of dollars with people just from hearing them in my ears every week. And yeah, it's just so powerful.
Yeah, that's a great point. And your uniqueness is going to be what draws people in. And that goes with my belief that there's enough people for all of us, and there's people waiting for each of us because they haven't related to someone else yet. They haven't related to me yet. They're waiting for you and your take and your experience and the way you do things as a coach versus someone else. And so I believe that 100% abundance, whatever we want to call it, but I think there's people for all of us. And I think it's silly not to think that and not to work in that type of way.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Absolutely. Oh, okay. There's so many questions that I want to ask, but I do want to ask a little bit on the podcast guesting stuff. And before we kind of get back into more of the bravery, probably because this is more of the bravery that I need to be doing. So I'd love to to hear from you about that because like I was eyeing off your like amazing thing where you do an audit or something and help people come up with the key stories and that kind of thing. I don't know, like where's a great place to start for this conversation in terms of podcast guesting? Because so far I've just been winging it and it's been okay, but I wouldn't say it's been my shining hour of like I've done the brave thing, but I've also been like, oh dear God. Why am I doing it this way?
Well, right. There's two parts there. One is sometimes we just need to do it and dive in. And that's exactly what I did a few years ago when I first started dabbling in this myself. booked a couple podcasts. I don't even remember how it happened. It was, I think, very organic because it was also something I wasn't thinking about. But I got on there with no plan. I was like ripping a band-aid off, nervous because you don't know how much they're going to edit or things. I edit my own podcast, but you don't know how much they're going to. And when they asked me the first question, tell me about yourself, who are you? I went from like entire life story, every pivot, twist, and turn. And there's so much value in those stories, but you're going to eat up a lot of the podcast episode, like a good fraction of it, because it's very easy to talk for 5 to 7 minutes. And now you've wasted a lot of the show. And she actually cut me off, and she shut up. That episode actually never aired. so there's
Yeah.
my like traumatic story, but you know 2025 hit in January, and it was again another light bulb moment, and I was like, I'm gonna start doing this in my own business and just see what happens. I'm gonna just put myself on a podcast tour. And I've done over 50 shows just in 2025. And what I always start with my clients is on our niche speaking topics. So step one, and I have a 5-step process because the former teacher in me loves systems. I love efficiency.
Yeah.
So step one is the niche speaking topics, and that's what you were referencing earlier. And so what my clients end up saying is once they have those like 3 speaking topics that are in their, wheelhouse of expertise, it makes everything else easier. So once you know what you're going to talk about, it makes finding the right podcast easier because I'm all about the quality over quantity, because it doesn't matter if we get on as many shows as we possibly can. That's if it's something we're doing because we're trying to use it and leverage it to grow our business, then that's not really going to happen if it's just this, how many can I be on? So finding the right aligned shows, that's key, but knowing what you're going to talk about, that's first. And so things that can get someone started right away is, because you might be like, oh, I don't know, I could talk about so many things, where do I start? Is to think about, if you had to guest on a podcast tomorrow, you don't get to prepare, there's not enough time for it, what would you just go off of? What would you just
Mm.
riff and talk about? There's going to be a topic in there. And the other thing you can do is look at, what types of offers you have. So a lot of us have a free resource, a downloadable, something that trades the value for an email address, things like that. A paid offer. What does your dream client look like? Hopefully in your business, those all kind of match. And if they do, and you're very confident in your offer, that's another thing. I was really scattered when I first started podcast guesting, and so I wanted to talk about so many different things. But if we can narrow it down to those speaking topics and talk about one specific thing, that's how, when you get done with the show, that podcast host, and as podcast hosts, we get questions all the time from our people that says, I know you don't do this, but do you know someone that does X? Do you know someone that does this? And so that's where those referrals are going to happen, because you're going to come top of mind. If you nailed that one topic, they're going to think of you whenever they get asked about that question. I get tagged on threads and things all the time. If someone says they want to guest on podcast, people tag me and say, you got to talk to Candace. You got to talk to Candace. So you'll see that start to naturally happen over time. But it always starts with your niche speaking topics. And then, yeah, back to those offers and things. There's speaking topics in there. When those are really lined up, you feel confident in your offer, you're embodied in your work. That's a great time to start podcast guesting. And there's likely going to be topics within there that you can line up and book a show with, because then you're going to be asked questions that are exactly about your offers. So instead of sounding like a sales pitch and like trying to weave in your offers in throughout the whole podcast, which feels just not fun, that feels so icky and spammy, it just is going to come out. It's just going to come up. You ask me, where do we start? Well, it's my first step in my whole process. So it's very easy to share, like, this is what I do with my clients. I help people with this. It's very natural, and value led is where I always start. So yeah, that's where you start with the niche speaking topics. But there's a lot more we can get into, but I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want. But start there and post it on threads. Say, hey, I know I could bring a lot of value to your show with these 3 topics. Does anybody have a podcast looking for these 3 topics? You could post that once a week, and I bet you would book yourself a show.
For sure. Actually, Threads is a great resource for finding people
It
for
is.
podcasts, getting, yeah, guest spots and that kind of thing. Do you find, like, for the podcast guesting, I feel like the podcasts mostly fill up at the beginning of the year, and because it's sort of easy to find people in at least in the business niches and some of that kind of stuff. Is that how that works, or am I just, I don't know,
No,
making
it
stories up?
definitely no, definitely some. It just depends on, I think it depends on who it is. So a lot of mom entrepreneurs like me, like I was batching all last spring. So I was recording through the winter and spring so much because I didn't want to record all summer because my kids were going to be home. I have three little kids and I don't like to record when they're in the house. So then I didn't record all summer and I just started recording again this fall. But I had episodes scheduled and batched ahead of time. So it just depends on who it is. But, I think people are definitely, batching. I don't know very many people that are doing it in real time, just, at least a couple weeks ahead of time. So that's another thing to think about. If you have an offer and you're going to get on a show, it's likely that it's not going to air immediately, like the next day. And also just consider that podcasts live for so long. I mean, you can search their titles and shows are SEO. They can be found in search engines. So having sort of an evergreen offer, like a free resource or something that gets mentioned, is going to be much better than the seasonal offer that you would have that's going to be gone once they've listened to the episode 3 months from now and it's gone and they've gone to your link and now it's gone. You don't want that. So yeah, I don't think you're wrong and that some people do schedule like that, but I think it varies and it's just based off of, what they have going on in their life and how they run their business.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, of course, like as we're recording this, it's October, so like I'm
Yeah.
still picking up near the end of the year, but yeah, it's really interesting. And that delay too, I found with a couple of my guests that in that couple of month delay, they've changed their entire business
Mm.
and like a couple of them have said, "Oh, I need to re-record because my business has changed completely." And so it's like, "Oh, okay, right."
And that can be quite frustrating for a podcast host because you know that a solo episode is so much easier, quicker, faster to produce, get it published, and get it scheduled. A guest episode, there's so much more that goes into it. I bet it takes at least 3 times longer to record with the guest, edit, book with them, schedule with them, deliver them the content that they can share after, collect their information. It's way different. So to that, you don't want to like burn a bridge or upset someone because you've changed. And I get not, we don't always know when there's pivots. I've gone through enough myself, but that's why one thing before you start guesting is to really be intentional about those topics. And while you do that, look at your business and look at how aligned is it? Is it cohesive? Is it very scattered still? What do I need to narrow down? What do I need to clean up so that when I do guest and someone comes over to my page because they listened to my whole episode, they were hanging on every word. They're like, "Oh, she is me. I need her in my life." And they come over to your social media or they come over to your online world and it's totally different. That's another person that they're probably done right there, right? So, and I'm not saying that sometimes we can't foresee that. And so I definitely want people to make pivots when they need to make pivots. Actually, that's probably something that's going to come up in my story later. But yes, you want to be intentional about your speaking topics and where you are in your business for sure, because the host is going to want you to share about your episode. And so if it's completely different than what you're doing now and you don't want to share about it, again, there's an unnecessary bridge you're burning with that host because that's kind of the trade-off. We need to be ready to share that episode when it airs.
Let me take a quick break from today's episode to invite you to something special I've created for you. It's called Brave Coffee Connections. This is a free monthly Zoom gathering for coaches and service-based business owners. It's not another awkward networking event. Instead, it's about creating genuine connections that can lead to collaborations, referrals, and even new clients. Here's how it works. We start with a powerful question to spark brave moves in your business. You'll reflect for a few minutes, then connect with like-minded coaches and service providers in a breakout room to share and be inspired. We do 2 rounds so you meet different people and get fresh perspectives. Then we end with a short visualization to wire your brain for success, and each of us commits to one brave action for the month ahead. Every month we focus on a different theme like bravery, money, or visibility, and it's all about connecting on a deeper level without the pressure or the pitch. You can grab your free spot at tiffanyGstudios.com/connections. That's TIFFANY G for golf, studios.com/connections. I look forward to seeing you there. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much amazing value in just this conversation. Yeah. You mentioned pivots, and I wonder, does that link into the brave moves you did to get started? Were there some pivots? Like, is
Were there some pivots? Oh my gosh. Yes, there were lots. My podcast is called the Better Brave podcast and Better Brave. So we use the same word brave, just living a brave life, like bravely outside of your comfort zone. That's what it was to me. And it started very much for moms. If we want to talk pivots, I started out as a teacher. And during that time, I had my three kids and I realized, oh my goodness, am I really just going to eat, sleep, repeat? Like, is this what life is going to be every day? And while it was good, I just didn't feel like I wanted to do this to the end of time. And so I joined a network marketing group with someone I knew, and it was actually fantastic. I know a lot of them get bad raps, but we started reading personal development and we were exercising and eating whole foods and thinking about our thinking. And that's when I just got the entrepreneurial bug and I started hosting my own team. And my podcast grew because I wanted to support the moms in my accountability groups. And so it started with very mindset, mom type vibes. And then I started having guests on who are entrepreneurs who are running businesses, and that sort of naturally happened. And through that, I realized entrepreneurship is where my heart lies. And so I just kept shifting it. And now it's all entrepreneurial, female focused guest episodes. And then my solo episodes are all about podcasting and mostly podcast guesting. So it is the podcast itself is that's kind of, you can see if you went back to all the episodes, they're all there. You would see every pivot. So there's gardening in there, there's refinishing furniture in there for a year, there's burnout. I was helping people with like Flowdesk, Squarespace, just different programs you learn to use as a solopreneur. And you're like, well, I could help people with this. I don't know. But yeah, I left teaching 4 years ago and there was a lot of twists and turns in that. But I would say in the last year and a half, I feel very embodied, very grounded where I'm at now. And it took a while to get there. And you just wish like you knew that sooner of where to go. But that's part of the journey too. And so, yeah, pivots are a huge thing for me because I also felt like the people in my life would kind of like, oh, you're changing your mind again. Like, took it as a negative thing because weren't entrepreneurial focused. And
Mm.
so they don't really understand. And it kind of, they took it in a negative light. Like, "Ugh, you're never gonna, how would you ever succeed? Or like that you're flighty or stuff like that." And so I think when you're in life in general, but for sure, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be able to pivot because as soon as you feel in your body that it is not quite right, you gotta make the decision. And I just think about the male and female version of this. No man would ever question this. It would be a CEO move. It would be in confidence and it would be a power move. But for whatever reason, sometimes for women, it's, oh, they're never gonna, they can't make decisions and they can't stick to something. And so we need to kind of take that masculine approach of like, no, I'm the CEO of my life and of my business. And as soon as I feel something is off, I'm course correcting and pivoting.
Yeah. On that male female thing too, and with the decision making, I have this little thing that I came across, which is that more money is lost by indecision than making the wrong decision, which kind of can help me. And on the other thing too, I wonder if it's because for women, we kind of grow like we're raised with this, we need to look after other people. And so therefore
Caretaker.
yeah. And so, therefore, it's like we're looking outside of ourselves for what decision to make, as opposed to perhaps on the more masculine side of, oh, I'm the provider, I have to make decisions. And I wonder if that plays into it as well. So, yeah.
It's funny you bring that up because my first year out of the classroom, I was also ending my network marketing because that felt unaligned. And so I really was just leaving the classroom without really knowing. But that first year, for my family's sake, was our youngest, wasn't in full-time school yet. So it was kind of, we were kind of thinking of it as like a gift to the family. Like it just felt like time was passing. I haven't had enough time with her. I don't want to regret this. And so my brain was thinking, I don't want to go back to teaching. So how could I figure this out? But I would do different things. I can remember vividly looking for that outside validation. I would, make dinner I hate to cook, but there was a week I had like every night I had a home cooked meal, like waiting to see, is my husband gonna say, "Oh my gosh, this is my dream. You have completed it. Thank you." And now I'll feel fulfilled. Or, well, let's focus on bringing in money this week. Like just different things that I can vividly remember that I did. And then I would wait to see who was going to tell me this is it. A wonderful job. And that didn't happen. And it was another moment where it was like, oh, I wish it would happen quicker for me, but it took about a year and a half where I was like, I'm looking for their permission to do what I know I want to do, but they have not walked these in these shoes. They don't even know why I would want to get on this path. So they love me, they're my family, but how can they give me this permission? Because this isn't even something that they've ever thought about, let alone understand. And you can't, even if they want to give me the permission, they can't. And so that was a really big change for me in the course of my business and life when I realized that, because then it's a lot easier to make decisions and act in alignment and act, for yourself than to keep looking around waiting for someone to comment or, then I can feel fulfilled or then I'll know it's the right path, right? It's within us,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I just know you're not alone in that. For me, I found in the earlier years of my business, I was waiting for customers to be that outside validation for the
Mm,
longest time of like, oh, if the customers buy it, then that will help me solidify that I'm on the right track and that I've made the right decision and things. But part of the problem with that, at least in my experience, was that my confidence wasn't there. Like, you need that confidence when you're selling. And so because of that, people would they'd say no because they were picking up on something feels weird here. I
yeah.
think I'll just say no. And so then that would be more evidence that this isn't the right path. You haven't found it yet. And all of the pivots. And it was when I shifted into here's who I am, like, that alignment that you talk about, just that
Mm,
feeling it in every cell of your body and all of that kind of stuff but for me it was the decision had to come first of like here's who I am and I'm the leader in my life and here's what I'm
hmm.
creating and get on board or get lost type of thing.
Yes. Oh, yes, for sure. Oh.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, then for anybody who's perhaps like struggling with those beginning stages, what's your biggest advice or anyone who's struggling with the pivots and just know I too I've pivoted a lot. Multitasking individual, can't decide on one thing. I don't
For
know how to
sure.
decide like three stories for podcast guesting. That's going to be so hard. So yeah, what do you suggest? Like what from your experience, or if you had advice like for you back then, what
Yeah.
would you say?
It's just that you have to keep taking the next step. You have to keep, I always said, like, it's just a pinky toe outside of my comfort zone, committing to that every single day. Because we all wish we could see this clear-cut path, the end of the tunnel, like, and then we would know to get there, we got to do X, Y, and Z. And that'd be so easy. But usually you don't get to see that. So it's really, that next stepping stone, the path is going to reveal itself in my experience and in the people I've worked with there in that experience as well. But the path reveals itself as you continue to walk down it. And so even if you don't know what the next 5 steps are, I bet you know the next step. Take it, do it. Then you'll figure out the second and the third. And, it's that book, Marie Forleo's book of Everything is Figure Outable.
Mm.
That's a great one too for beginners, is just it literally is. Tell me something in your life that you haven't figured out yet. You're here. You've figured out every day how to, I'm 38, how to be 38. Like you have made it this far. I didn't have a manual when I had kids, but I figured it out, right? So there's such a track record for all of us that we don't even notice that we have literally been figuring it out for a lifetime. And so we need to trust in that, have a little more confidence in that when we take the next step, we're going to see the next one. But that's what I would say. So you commit to it. Go one at a time. The rest is going to reveal itself. You'll figure it out. But it's okay if you can't see the whole end of the tunnel picture. I couldn't either. Heck, I still probably I still don't know where for sure we're going, but I'm taking those steps.
Oh my gosh, I'd be a little scared if I could see every step before me because who knows what amazingness could happen if you're not
Mm,
open to it. Do you know what I mean? Like
that's a
you're
good
narrow.
point.
I don't know, but this is my multi-potentialite, like, multi-passionate heart of like I can't stick to one thing forever. Like
Yeah.
this is why I've created this career that blends all of these different passions and yeah.
Yes. Well, to add to that, another thing that my now two besties who are both entrepreneurs, we always say leave room for magic. So what we mean by that is when our calendars in our 9 to 5s and our lives during those times were packed full, start to finish every single day. And so my belief would be that even those magical things, those things that are going to open along the way, even if they came, you're not going to see it because you're looking at your schedule and it is packed solid. There is no room for it. So it's going to pass you by or it's not going to come at all. But it's wild the times where we've left an hour to go for a walk or an hour next week for nothing. I don't know, magic. We'll see when we get there, but we're not going to do any work or something. But when you leave those little bits, and it doesn't have to be much, it's crazy what can come in because the universe is like, oh, she has room for this. Let's bring it to her. Like maybe that's getting into the woo, but I, I love a little bit
Love
of woo. So, anyways, leave a little room for magic while you're taking all those action steps.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. In my experience too, like those weeks where it's just everything is full and I'm trying to do all of the things, there's definitely not room, like as you say, for the magic. From my perspective, it's been those awesome ideas, the creative
Hmm.
ideas,
Yes, that's magic
or
too. Yeah.
just because you're in
Yes.
this zone and this energy of like I'm doing all the things, I've got to do all the things, and for me sometimes it's like, oh, I'm always behind. That's the one I'm working on at the moment, trying to not always feel like I'm
Right.
behind. So yeah.
Yeah. If have you ever been stuck like, oh, I need to get a podcast episode out, but I can't think of anything. If I go for a walk or if I just like shut down or shower or something where
Yeah.
like nobody else can bother you, the ideas are coming. They're just so like
Yes.
log jammed because I'm just doing, doing, doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so stop and do nothing. And I
Yeah.
about guarantee you might, or you just need a nap and you needed some rest too.
Yeah, definitely. For me, one of my tricks is I still do the dishes by hand because I just really like that experience, and that's usually when my subconscious solves
Mm,
problems for me in
mm,
life and business, and that's usually when the oh, here's what I can do, here's how I can solve that issue, and it's like oh,
yes,
yay. So yeah.
yes.
Okay, so tell us what you have coming up in the next 3 to 6 months. I don't know if you're a forward planner, but what brave things do you have coming up?
Yeah, I actually that is part of my bravery right now is to plan it out farther. So in the new year, I have a new container coming out that's going to be a 6-month thing for podcasters and people that want to podcast guests. So it's going to be working on that, like meshing it all together, all of my favorite things, coming up with show ideas, batching, getting the right, podcast guests things lined up. So that's going to be in a group setting, well, a combo, group and one-on-one. But for people listening, they can head to the show notes and go download the podcast guesting masterclass that I have. That's free. And you can hear all of my tips and tricks that I walk my clients through. There's a lot in there, and it's about 15 minutes. So it's quick and efficient, the way I like it. So that'll be there. And it is a great place to start.
Oh my gosh, okay, yeah. I'm like, oh, where's the show notes? I better go. I mean, I know you gave me the links beforehand, but I just copied and pasted. I didn't look closely, and now it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I
Well,
need.
the New Year one, that's not made yet. So you'll have to go follow my social media for that to come out. But yes, you do have the masterclass one.
Yeah, oh, nice.
Yep.
And so the 6 month thing that you're running, the program that you'll be running,
Mhm.
so that helps podcasters. Like, is that podcasters who also want to do guesting, or is it for people who like maybe they don't have their own podcast and they just want to guest? Like, you've got both types of people in there, or
Yeah, well, I have some offers that are just for guesting. Those are in my links ongoing, but this one is going to be just for podcasters that want to work on their podcast, get their episodes prepped and ready so that they don't have to record in the summer and guesting. So that's going to be paired together to sort of
Nice.
be that double punch.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Because it's definitely been an interesting thing of having my own podcast and then that leading to podcast guesting as well, because there's the podcast swap and all of that.
Yeah,
So,
for
yeah.
sure. Definitely.
Awesome. So, with what you have coming up, what's the scariest thing or the bravest thing you have to do for what's coming up?
Mm. I haven't done anything that long that I've led. So just navigating that and knowing that you're probably going to be figuring and maybe mini pivots throughout that whole thing, just because I will want to tailor it to the people that end up being in that. So for me, I'm an Enneagram 3, the achiever. So I love things to be very concrete and you can see it all, but I think that that's going to be more of a fluid type thing that we're going to be, which is exciting too. But my brain is like a little nervous about it, but more excited than nervous to see what that's going to unfold. Because I can have an idea in my mind. I just know that when the real people get in there, though, it's going to become what it needs to be and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's always a fun way to work actually of like, okay, who have I got? What are they struggling with? How, which sort of like how to tailor it to people. I always
Hmm.
find that fun. I have teaching in my background as well. And so
Okay.
yeah, like doing master classes and things, it's always interesting. Like I'd run them in groups of 5 or 6 sessions or something in like different groups. You know how it is just like you're teaching the same stuff, but a different group takes to it in a different way. And I kind of
Yes.
always like the feeling, yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably bring me back to more of my teaching days, actually, which is it's kind of fun because I did like teaching. I just didn't like how I felt when I got home to my own ch children. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, can't take the teacher out of the girl, I think sometimes
Oh
for
yeah,
me. Like it,
that's me. Ask my own children, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, she still runs the house like she is teaching."
yeah, I found that like even in normal jobs, because I only taught for a couple of years. I taught English in South Korea and stuff. And
Oh
so,
wow.
yeah, and then it was like when I came back to normal jobs, I still ended up in these teaching roles and teaching or mentoring or running classes, like even in, project
Yes.
management, some of that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
It's us teachers, we think we don't have any skills to do anything else, but the fact of the matter is we could probably do any job, literally, because while you're teaching, it's so, you're party planning, you're organizing, you're event planning, you're troubleshooting, nonstop. So,
Yeah.
yeah, project manager, things like that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to find that I like gained skills in like presenting and because teaching young kids, especially when English wasn't their first language, it's like there was a huge entertainer that I had to become, and I had
Yes.
to kind of become a bit larger than life for those kids, and yeah, and I got to have fun on that side of things too. So yeah.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Okay, so it's been amazing hearing all of your stories of bravery and all of the goodness about podcasting and podcast guesting. I was wondering, like, for anybody, just like as some like last words, anyone who's perhaps considering, wanting to reach out and maybe, pitch for a podcast guesting spot or start their own podcast or any of those kinds of things, what would be some words of wisdom or advice you would give to that person who's like, oh, I want to do it, but it's scary.
Great question. It's just about leading with, genuine humanness and thinking about the value because in podcasting, our main concern as hosts is that each episode is valuable. We want that for our listeners. And so when you're going to reach out to a host or you're going to have your own show, what's the value that you're going to bring to the show? That if you lead with that and just being genuine, I also always say send it in a DM because we're just getting too many emails. Like those bad pitches are coming as emails. So many hosts are just chucking them in the junk folder. So be a human, listen to their podcast before you say I want to be on it, that type of thing. Like if you had a podcast, how would you want someone to approach you as far as being a guest on the show? And do that. It's really not that serious and it's not that like magical. It's just lead with value, be a good human. right? And the rest will unfold and you'll find your right people.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Those pictures that I get in the emails too, like I've heard some stories about scammers and how like they just
Yeah.
want to access to your stuff and yeah, so I kind of ignore all of those email ones unless you're
Yeah.
a real
And
person. Yeah.
yeah, because when you send a DM, then your account is right there and they can click on your profile and they're not, some of them, like you said, they have a link in them. I don't want to click that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if this is going to hack my computer because we've all have those stories too. So that's another, yeah, send the DM. It's not hard to find the host of the show usually and find their information, but yeah, lead with value and treat them like a human because that's all we are on the other end. We're just humans too. So awkward
Absolutely.
introverts, you just send it our way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Candace. We will have links to all of your stuff in the show notes, but for people who are like me, who are like, screw the show notes, I just want to go to Instagram or wherever right now, where should people find you? How can people connect with you?
Yes, come on over to Instagram or Threads, but send me a message on Instagram at Candace Dudley. It's just my name anywhere, so you can find that really easily. But it's me behind the message, and I always love to hear from someone that listened. And if there's a question that I didn't answer or a takeaway, always love to hear it. It's exciting to me, and so I can't wait to connect with someone that listened this far. If you listen this far, you must have been connecting to something. So don't be shy. Go send that message.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening today. If you're ready to grow through deeper connections, join me for Brave Coffee Connections. It's my free monthly Zoom call for coaches and service providers. No pitches, just real conversations that spark collaborations, referrals, and new clients. Plus, you'll leave with clarity, inspiration, and one brave action for the month ahead. Save your free spot at tiffanyGstudios.com/connections. That's TIFFANYG for golf, STUDIOS.com/connections. I can't wait to see you there.